G'day and welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL A-Grade Netball Show. Thanks to our friends at ONTIME Delivery Solutions. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray. Certainly a big week we've had in netball. Only a couple of games, but it's certainly we're seeing some great results.
Look, obviously we only had the 3 games, so it was quite interesting that it seems not many at all considering it was a split round at this time of the season. But look, all the results, I think, were how the tipsters would have seen them. Well, definitely how I saw them anyway. But they're probably some closer results than we have seen earlier in the season. And I looked at some interesting bits and pieces. I think Broadford probably played one of their matches of the season. Diggers Rest had a better performance against Rupertswood than it did the previous week. And you look, Romsey took it up to Macedon for probably 3 quarters before the margin blew out. So you had 3 really interesting matches.
Let's talk up Broadford. They haven't had the best year, and they sort of aware that with injuries to key personnel. And the fact they're getting a team out on the court is fantastic. With some good young players that are developing, but they got as close to a win as I think they'll get all year, and I think they should be really proud of their efforts. Well,
they did have a closer result round 1 when they lost by a goal, but obviously
and they were sort of full strength as well.
They did, yeah. So this time they lost to Wood and Hesket by 4 goals. So Wood and Hesket was probably in a rare position. They entered the game as favourites and looking to win 2 games in a row for probably the first time in a long time. So as we saw against Melton Centrals the week before, the Hawks were probably stronger in the first 3 quarters, and then they faded a little bit. I don't know whether that was again because they have a number of players playing in their under-19. So you've got some of these girls are playing 8 quarters of netball, and especially if you're in the mid-court, it could be a tough ask at times. But you look at Broadford, it's probably their best one of their best results for the season. They built up and they kept themselves in the game and scored one of their highest scores. And look, they fell short in the end, but it was probably their best effort. And for the Hawks, you look at it, that's their 4th win of the season. They probably haven't won 4 games like that for a number of years. So it continues to show they're building, and obviously there was the pressure on them to win this week, and they were able to handle that and get the win.
Mathematically, there's still a chance to play finals when all is said and done there, so it's certainly not beyond them. It'll be a good fairy tale run, but a good sign for the Hawks sort of moving forward. And I think Broadford, they can definitely look at that as a bit of a platform to build ahead for the rest of the season and into next year.
It is, and obviously it gives them a bit of confidence that they're not being completely beaten every single week. So that's what you want to see, that they can build up some of these and look at some of these girls who is going to play next season, who might be in what grade and what positions they sort of need to look to strengthen in.
You mentioned Romsey took the fight up to Macedon before they sort of get blown away, at least later in the game. What's your take on this game?
Look, obviously I expected Macedon to win, and last time these 2 teams met, I think Romsey actually led before Macedon came from behind to take over. Macedon are starting to hit their straps though, so that's the thing, they're starting to get their full lineup and get those combinations, because they've worked on a number of different combinations so they can switch it round there. And you look at it, it was only really that last quarter it blew out. For Romsey, they had to move Monique Clark from defence into goals, which obviously Monique is a great defender, so it does change that lineup a little bit. I did get told that Hope may not play again this season, but she did play a couple of quarters in B grade, so obviously that goal was at Rihanna Ezard, who had been playing in goals, didn't play for Romsey, so that's probably to keep an eye on what's sort of happening there. I think they'll need Rihanna back in there because Monique is a gun defender, but in the end the Cats were too strong and they're just doing what they have all season and getting those wins they need to get.
Yeah, exactly, and there's sort of very little reason to doubt them at the moment. They really seem to be clicking. They've got some good depth coming up through the other grades, so it is quite fascinating to see how they're trekking. The other big game, obviously, you highlighted that Diggers Rest showed a much more improved performance against Rupertswood.
Look, we had a weird situation with Sunbury Kangaroos and Lancefield not having A-grade sides. We saw these 2 teams meet for 2 successive weeks. So look,
and it wasn't scheduled to happen either because of the arrangements from Diggers Rest and Romsey in round 1 that actually forced a few fixture changes to actually force this match to happen, and then it happened again.
Yeah, and obviously this time they were indoors. And look, Rupertswood were missing a couple of players. You had Claire Johnson, who played the week before, didn't play this week. They're still missing Lara Keating out of their back third. So Amy Starzer, who's sort of gone between goals and defence, had to play a whole game in defence, and we're starting to really see her thrive. Obviously, she's played at that position at a higher level, but she's got a lot of confidence this season, and with it, look, the Sharks looked convincing for 3 quarters. Diggers Rest did come back a little bit in the last quarter, but both teams gave opportunities to some of their B-grade players. In the goal-in circle for Diggers Rest, they bring up Mallie Wallan and Erin Mitchell, who both got a little bit of court time in that goal-in circle with obviously obviously no Shelby Strong at the moment. And then for the Sharks, they have Rebecca Said, who's been a goaler in their B grade side for a number of years. She got another opportunity up there. And Nima Wallan, I think it is how you pronounce her name. She's come up as well and got an opportunity. I'd probably been her first, maybe only her second A grade game. So
yeah, she's a good young kid coming through.
It is, and she captained one of their premiership sides last year, so she's got a lot of experience, and it's bringing those younger girls through, so they're getting different opportunities. Look, margin was only, in the end, it was only 9 goals, but it was still pretty convincing win for the Sharks.
Yeah, I think it's still a bit of a better performance there from Diggers Rest, given their lack of confidence in recent weeks, not getting the results on the board. As we look ahead to this weekend, we've got some very important games. We've got Melton Centrals and Wallan. Centrals, you can never rule them out. But they did lose to Wood and Hesket in their last outing.
You can never rule them out, but the form we've seen this year, Centrals, they're not convincing at all. They're probably not the side we have seen the last couple of years. And look, Randy Pereira said that pre-season, he didn't know what sort of team they'd have this season, and they have struggled at times. Shooting accuracy has probably been their downfall. They probably could have got another 2-3 wins if they had shot a lot better. But for them, they need to win this week if they are any chance of playing finals. It's getting down to that crunch point with a lot of the teams above them playing each other. If they're to play finals, they have to win this week, but I think Wallan's going to be too strong. Wallan's shown they are a team that really will be up there come finals time. Whether it's a close game or a one-sided game, they've been able to be in every single game, and they've only had a couple of losses.
Speaking to a few people from just different clubs over the last few weeks, they are actually quite surprised and really impressed by the Wallan story, the Wallan success story, where they've got a really good coach who has bought into the club culture and brought some quality players along with him and developed a lot of the younger kids as well. All of a sudden, they didn't have a team last year, and they're going to play deep in the finals, no doubt about that. I think that is a great example of a coach having a buy-in of the club and then just generating a really good culture and good playing ethos within the playing group.
And look, and heading into this season, because I don't cover Wallan in the paper, they're one side I didn't know a lot about. So, but you've got a lot of these girls who are playing in the Victorian Netball League, so they're developing at that higher level with some high-quality players as well, and they're bringing it back to clubland, and that's what you want to see. You want to see strong. You want to see every single netball club within the competition being strong, and Wallan's sort of shown that. I think a couple of their lower grades may have struggled a little bit, but they're getting those players through, and you're starting to see that success, and that the netballers are enjoying being out there, and it's a football netball club, so you want to see both parts of the club thriving.
Shaping up to be an interesting time there, and hopefully they put on a good show on the weekend alongside the Centrals. Rockbank and Riddell, this is one of the more interesting matches of the weekend for mine. I was having a chat to one of the Rockbank stars earlier on in the week who was a big fan of the show, Ree Vinning. She's all over it, and talking up just the confidence, the buzz around the Rockbank club at the moment it's extremely positive.
Look, this is an interesting week. We've got 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th all playing off against each other, so it's massive in the concept of where these teams sort of sit and finals hopes and all of this. And you mentioned that you've got Riddell, who got thrashed by Macedon in their last outing, and that, look, I expected Macedon to win, but that margin of 30 goals absolutely, I think, surprised everyone.
Yeah.
So, but you've both of these sides are two of the big improvers from last year. Rockbank has absolutely developed, and they're knocking off teams left, right and centre. They've got a lot of good key players in all their positions, and they've got players who can come off the bench as well. And then you've got Riddell, who've got a lot of young players with a couple of experienced heads. So it's going to be quite interesting how this one goes. I think Riddell will get up, but Rockbank could quite easily cause another upset.
Well, Rockbank has already got a win over them already, and depending on how results go, a Rockbank win, that really starts to put one big nail in their top 6 aspirations, which I think is fantastic given where that club has come from.
And it is, and it could quite easily close down a couple of the aspirations of your teams outside the top 6 in Diggers Rest and Melton Centrals, depending on other results. So it'll be quite an interesting thing how it goes.
I think if they get a win here, and given who they've challenged Macedon in parts, they only got within a handful of goals against Romsey the previous week. I mean, we talk about the senior football being very close, but the netball has got the potential to be just as closer.
Look, I think the football's closer. Yeah. Obviously, looking at that, in the netball, you've got a clear favourite in Macedon.
Yeah.
You've got a clear favourite in Macedon, and then you've got Rupertswood and Wallan have showed they're probably above the next two. But Riddell's had their moments, Romsey's had their moments, Rockbank's had their moments. So you've got to be switched on. I think, obviously, football's probably a bit closer, but every team still has to be switched on come finals, because there is a capability of having upsets.
We're going to have a very healthy top 6. And speaking of the top 6, we've got another big game, and it is Diggers Rest and Romsey. Diggers Rest playing for their finals.
It is, and obviously this is the round 1 game that is being rescheduled, and Diggers Rest will be looking to get their confidence back. They're undemand at the moment, and that's probably been their biggest thing. They haven't had Carly Harrison for a number of weeks. You lose Shelby Strong. That's 2 keys in your attacking half there without anything else. So, and they've had a couple of other players battle injuries. So you've got them, and then you've obviously got Romsey, who's been competitive in every single game they play. So they've impressed me. Obviously, they've lost a lot of their premiership players from last year, but you've had different players step up. I think Chelsea Ross has been really, really good for them.
Great leader for the team.
Great leader, and obviously she's had to step up even more when they lost Bronwyn Blair from that attacking end. So she's played with a number of different shooting partners the last few weeks, and she's sort of had to switch depending on who she plays with between goal shooter and goal attack. But she's probably been a key for them there, and they've still got a lot of strength across the court.
And Chelsea's really thrived under that pressure as well. I think it's something she's embraced and really taken on, and it's made her. She was a good leader around the team anyway, obviously with a bit of change in personnel in the off-season, and to have to adhere, or to take on, inherit some extra roles in the team on the court itself, I think is fantastic for her.
It is, and I've been looking at her shooting accuracy. She's been a pretty accurate shooter, missing not many goals, and that's what you want to sort of see from your key goaler, that they are hitting those shots, because that could be the difference in these games. We've seen in other teams, i.e. Melton Central's, missing their shots, and it's cost them. You need to be hitting those shots, because you've got a lot of your key goalers like a Beck Colwell, you've got Rebecca Hicks from Rockbank, those key shooters. They don't miss many goals, and Chelsea's another one up there with them.
Certainly fantastic for those teams to have quality shooters and quality players. Tara, thanks so much for joining us in part 2 of round 13. Well, we've covered both, 1 and 2 in this edition of the show. We look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks for having me.